spring summit, and just really lovely to see all of your faces. And I hope that you're having a really great Tuesday today. I know that we have an incredible day planned for you. My name is Jamie Jacobson, for those of you who haven't met me yet, but I think most of you do know who I am. We have put together an agenda for you today that I think is going to be filled with some really interesting topics and opportunities for discussion and learning. And so thanks for being here. I know you have a lot on your plate. I also understand that issues with subs and COVID restrictions and everything always weigh heavy on your hearts. And I just want you to know how much we admire and support you and want to encourage you in the work that you're doing. Thank you so much for taking the time to be here today. So first of all, as we get started, our superintendent is here with us today, and we wanted to have Superintendent Elder speak with you a little bit and talk to you about things that are going on and give you a welcome. So I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Elder. And so Scott, take it away.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Good morning to you. Good morning to you all. Sorry, Jamie, am I muted? No, I'm good.
Nope, now you're okay. Now you're okay.
Okay, all right. I always think I'm using the technology correctly, and then everybody gives me these funny looks, and I think, oh, something's going on. So, well, good morning. Gosh, it's nice to see you all. We, during the Omicron surge, were really trying to stay, I hate to say this, away from you so that we didn't become spreaders of anything or create problems. And so it's been nice to be able to start getting back out into schools and seeing the students and seeing teachers. But it was really great. I was out the other day after the storm and I went to a school just to check and make sure everything was going okay. And I went into the cafeteria and they were having lunch, and it was just nice, little kids eating lunch and staff doing duty, and people were just sort of living the life of school. And sometimes when you're a little more divorced from the work of school, you forget about just those routines and those nice pleasures of spending time with kids when they're just being kids and not doing anything but just having a little snack. So I want to say to all of you, thank you. I deeply appreciate you and the work you've put in and what you're doing for us every day. This has been the last 2 years, 3 years really, have been some of the most incredible years of my career. I've been doing this since 1991, and the strain and the stress has been unbelievable. But I would say we have done remarkably well. And I think a large part of that is due to the work you've done and the effort you've put in and the support you've provided to your peers and to the district and to your schools. And for that, I am deeply grateful. So thank you. If I say nothing else today, I want you to hear that I get that you guys are leaders. And this is a funny time. Being a leader these days is, for some reason, harder than usual. Every decision you make seems to be questioned or challenged and at some level. And I know it's true for you guys as well. So thanks for having the courage and the strength to stand up and be you and do the right thing for kids and for our schools. So thank you. I mentioned that normally I would do this meeting from Santa Fe, or from Santa Fe. Normally I go to Santa Fe so I could meet with you all. Normally I would do this meeting from the office, but I am leaving for Santa Fe almost immediately afterwards. And so, like I said, home is closer. So I stayed home this morning. I know it's kind of tacky for me to be here, but I apologize, but bear with me. But there's some really interesting things going on in Santa Fe that I think have direct impact on your work and what you're trying to do out there. We are at an interesting crossroads in New Mexico's education, I think, with the fact that we actually have money, which is an odd thing to say, because we very rarely say that. And so they've done some great things, I think, as far as teacher salary, and they've made some nice adjustments there. And I think the new minimums are solid. I think the 7% is great. I'm very, very much in favor of all that. But we have this issue with ELTP and the K5 Plus program that has come up. And it's a real interesting topic. And it's one that I'm going to be talking with a number of people today about because I have concerns. ELTP, for those of you that are acronymed out, Extended Learning Time Program, adds 10 days to the school calendar. The K5 Plus adds 25 days to the school calendar over the summer. We've had schools that have done K5 Plus for years, and we've had schools that have not. The ELTP is new, but there are districts around the state that have adapted those days. The idea is basically you have to, on the ELTP, you need to get to about 190 days because they funded 180. So, but with those comes professional development, right? And on the K5 Plus, you get up to 80 hours of additional professional development that you're required to give. And I don't have a problem with more professional development. We all know that we need it and that it's important. Forgive the person in the background. I didn't realize I needed to clear this room out before I began my presentation. So very sneaky. So I know that you guys are tired. And I know the staff is tired. And honestly, I have my doubts about the extra 25 days and whether or not we'd be able to pull it off. I've heard loud and clear from people, how they feel about that. And, not everybody, but quite a few. And so I'm going up to Santa Fe to talk about, is there any possibility of any sort of flexibility? We've as a district have requested hours added to the day versus days to the calendar. We've looked at, having teachers maybe work an 8-hour day with the kids being there for 7 or even 6.5, really at the elementary level would be great. But build in time for teachers to do the work that you guys do, professional development, grading, meeting with parents, all those things that wouldn't have to be done during the middle of a classroom anymore, that we could have some flexibility. We'll see, right? We know we have a new board that is more willing to push for change, which I think is good. But we'll see what happens, and we'll see what the state comes back with. But I think what it points out is the incredible importance of developing our teachers and making sure that we do specifically our first teach, our tier 1s teaching well, because adding 10 days is great, but if it's 10 days of mediocre teaching or 10 days of mediocre schooling, then you're going to have 10 days of mediocre schooling, right? I could add 25 days, but if it's not improved instruction, I don't know what we're going to see. So that's, when I go up and I talk to the legislature, I talk about the need to really improve what we do at the first tier of instruction and really get into the work that people like you do as far as trying to help those teachers that need support, that need to improve, and why we need to have the flexibility and the capacity to have people like you to do the work. We've had to change and restructure and redo this program so many times. And I continue to argue that this is the key to turning things around. People like you getting out there and helping other people improve their instruction, that's where we're going to make the difference. Time is great. Certainly with time comes compensation, and that's nice. If you look at the salary bumps for those teachers that work in a K5 plus, it's pretty significant. It's pretty significant. It's not a raise. You're just being compensated for working additional days, but it's more money. But again, if we don't improve what we're doing, I don't know necessarily that we're going to see tremendous improvement. And I really look back at my own career, and, as I came up as a teacher and as a principal, some of the things we did to help us to improve the schools we worked in. And I, I certainly remember my, my first year of teaching, and even probably into my second year of teaching. This will probably surprise you. I wasn't that good when I started. I had the idea that I was going to be the cool teacher, and I was going to be the one the kids got, and we were all going to be, in it together, and they were going to be excited. And there were some that liked that, but there were some that were not as excited with me and didn't think I was all that cool. And I struggled, and it took a strong mentor coming in to say, look, Scott, you've got to change some of your attitude. You've got to change some of your practices. You've got to be more, specific. Just a lot of very clear direction. And when I started following that advice, because I realized I needed to change some things, things got better. Not immediately. I confused the hell out of the kids that first year when I started trying to change mid-year what I was doing. And, all I really did was just confuse them. But that second year was better. And then it got better and better. And of course, by year 5, I felt pretty good. As a principal, as a first-time principal, I was at McKinley Middle School. And I went in there, and I went into a really difficult situation where the administrators prior to me had really been struggling. Great infighting. The school was very split opinions, and the only thing they kind of revolved around was they didn't like me, and because I wasn't who they wanted as the principal, and either side. So that was interesting, and I got great advice from a mentor again, who said, "You know what? Just watch. Don't run in there and start trying to make changes. They need change, but don't do it in the first 5 minutes. Don't act like you have all the answers. Just go in and watch and listen and learn, and then you can be more specific as to what you want to do." And I did that, and surprise, surprise, it worked in that people respected the fact that I was willing to listen and learn and understand their culture and understand what they were coming from and what they were dealing with, because that was a tough school. It still is. And we needed to be very specific. And so I got this bright idea that maybe we'd try a literacy program because they didn't have much of one. And so that second semester, we started really focusing on how do we improve reading and writing instruction across the school, not just in the language arts classes, but across the school. How does everyone support that? And that work, continued on for me at other schools. And then we ended up developing a really clean literacy plan at all the schools I was at, and we saw improvements. It helped in the math department. We went in there, and that second year, the math department came and said, we'd really like to focus on math instruction. We have this idea. And okay, and turns out somebody read a book, right? And they had this plan that they wanted to follow. And so we went to a conference and we learned about it, and we came back and we started doing it. But what was interesting was it all was driven by the fact that at some point, a wiser teacher came to the school and said, here's something we can do that we think will make a difference. And it took some leadership listening. It took a leadership that was willing to take advice and be willing to move forward. And then it took a plan. We had to have a clear plan. It couldn't just be, well, let's roll the dice and see what happens. We had to lay it out and make sure we knew what we were doing before we started. And that was really positive. But if I didn't have support, if I didn't have people like you, none of these things would have happened. The last example I'll give you, and I don't know how many of you are at high school, but way back in the day, I was at Highland, and I had money again. It was one of those weird years where I had some money. I had a grant. It was a significant grant, and we couldn't spend it fast enough. It was the weirdest thing. We couldn't spend it fast enough. And we got, how it gets to the end of the year, and you're like, I've got to spend this money. But you don't want to spend it on paper. You don't want to just give it away. You want something solid. Well, again, a math teacher showed up, and he said, I've got this idea. we could buy graphing calculators for all of our students across the school, and we could teach them how to use graphing calculators. And this is back in the days when we were still fighting over whether or not we could use calculators to teach math. Okay, this is how old I am. We were still arguing whether or not calculators were a good idea, even though, even at that time, everybody had one of these. Everybody in the world had a calculator. We were still, oh no, learn those times tables. So we decided we'd give it a shot, that we would do this. Well, we ended up buying the TI-84s for everybody in the school. And right about that time, they showed up with this little piece of software called the Navigator. And the Navigator was a neat little tool you could add to the calculator, and the teachers could actually send work out in the calculator to all their class. And then you could link that to your Promethean board, and the kids could do the work on the calculator, and the teacher could pull up all the results. And the teacher could see how many students had gotten the answer just like that. And she could pull specific students up onto the board and show the work. And all of a sudden, the simple idea suddenly became this really pretty transformative tool that our teachers in our department, but again, none of them knew how to use it, right? So how did we have to do that? Well, I needed someone like you, because I couldn't teach them. So, I needed someone like you, and the rest of the grant money went into someone like you, and that came in and worked with them on just that, how to really use that tool, how to really change math instruction. We started to see some very exciting things in our students' depth of understanding and their ability to do math, acknowledging that some of our test scores weren't exactly rocking it, but we had data through the work we were doing that showed these kids were getting it. And it was interesting. But again, it all went back to someone like you being available to work with us. So as I head out to Santa Fe this morning, I want you to know that this is a nice start for me. You've got my head in the right place. I've got my arguments ready. I've got my debating skills honed. And I'm inspired. I'm inspired because you're here. I'm inspired because you're out there. And I know what you're doing. And I know the difference you're making in the lives of our children. I know the difference you're making in our schools. And I am, again, appreciative. Know that I have the deepest respect for you. And I'm so glad that you were here today. I wish you the best, not only today, but the rest of the school year and into the years to come, because hopefully you're not leaving. Don't go. Stay with us. We would miss you. But thank you. Jamie, I'm going to turn it back over to you, and I wish you the best today. I'm sure you have a wonderful program. You always put together such good programs, and I'm sure we'll get a lot out of it. I wish I could stay. You're going to be much more fun than where I'm going. So you all be good.
Thank you, Mr. Elder, and we really appreciate you too. Thanks for fighting for us and always being so willing to come and join us and support our work. It means a great deal. Thank you for all you're doing. Okay, folks, so we've got a few announcements here this morning. Mark, I'm going to ask you to go ahead and put the slide deck back up. And I think Mark and Liz are going to talk to you a little bit about our agenda today.
So very quickly, we're just going to have a couple people speak on some upcoming events, and then we'll give some news that's directly related to today's summit and your TLF work in general. And then at the end of the slide deck that Liz put into the chat are some of the links. If you haven't received them, they're all on this slide deck as well. So you can find the schedule for today. And we may have to take 5 minutes out of one of our 10-minute break just to kind of get on track today. But everything you need for today is on this slide deck. And so with that, I'm going to turn it over. Amy, are you doing this?
I am, yes. Thanks, Mark. So one of the events that's coming up this spring semester is the STEAM Institute, which is a part of the Digital Learning Conference. We wanted to share this with you because it is one of the expected participatory things as a TLF. but I want to talk about how that participation can look for you. Because it is on the 18th, that is Student Conference Day. It's the Friday of that, so you wouldn't have to have a sub. However, we know how challenging it is to be able to get time away when you need to meet with families. So the event is 9 to 3, and because of the flexibility that we need these days to be able to attend events, the sessions are going to be hybrid. They'll be live at Berna, but also be recorded and streaming live for you to be able to tune in and participate. If you're able to attend at Bonifacio, there's also a STEAM playground. We just confirmed Explora will be there. So there's going to be a lot of interactive hands-on opportunities to see STEAM in action. There are also opportunities for badging, so you can get some cred, some DLC cred, and your access to the streaming and the recordings, you need to register. The registration is available at the nmdlc.org site, and we look forward to seeing you in one form or another at the STEAM Institute this March. And now I'll pass the baton to my colleague, Courtney Grant.
Thanks, Amy. Good morning. I'm Courtney Grant, and Amy and I are going to talk a little bit this morning about the Vibrant Schools Conference. So the Vibrant Schools Conference is a 2-day event for APS educators and administrators. It's going to be held on June 6th and 7th at Bonifacio, and it's centered around the 3 essential energies of a vibrant school: enliven minds, embolden voices, and playful learning. The Vibrant Schools Conference is dedicated to transforming our schools into hubs of creativity, curiosity, emotional well-being, and intellectual engagement for all students. The event itself is designed to be equal parts collaboration, inspiration, and action. Our goal is to create an asset-focused environment so that the conference goers are struck by the vibrancy that already exists within APS and are inspired to create action plans to bring vibrancy to new spaces and in new ways. Throughout both days of the conference, we'll have a variety of workshop sessions, as well as structured, intentional time for school teams to collaborate and plan action steps to bring conference ideas to life. On day 1 of the conference, we're going to set the stage for playful learning by creating vibrant surroundings and experiences at Bonifacio, like hands-on interactive experiences for educators, as well as performances on the second day, we'll shift the focus to emboldened voice, and we'll have workshops in the morning, and the afternoon will be devoted to an unconference, where participants suggest topics and lead discussions to share ideas. So right now we are planning for an in-person event on June 6th and 7th with plenty of virtual options, and if needed, we'll make the conference fully virtual, although our fingers are crossed that we will be able to have that in-person component. Okay, now I'm going to turn it back over to Amy to talk about ways you and your site can be part of the Vibrant Schools Conference.
There are a few ways that you as TLFs and as amazing educators in the district can participate. The first is to submit a proposal. We have the call for proposals open through February 28th. We hope that the directions are fairly clear in how you will do that, but you can always reach out to Courtney and I if you have any questions. Also, hot off the press is that we are able to pay you an hourly rate stipend if you are chosen to present at the conference, and it also includes a little bit of prep time. So as Scott was saying, we have some money, and yes, we have some money, so we can support you in preparing and presenting, since this is an off-contract conference. So we encourage you to take a look at the call for proposals and submit, because we know you're doing awesome things out there. In addition, we have team registration open for schools, priority registration for teams currently of 2. We will open to general registration on March 1st. Priority team registration is designed to ensure that your school has a place at the table for when the conference occurs, and this is for the in-person component. So we encourage you to go back and work with your IC, your school administration, to get yourselves registered, because we will open it up for everybody on March 1st, but we want to make sure that you and your school teams already have a seat at the table. If you know of anyone who you think would be a really great presenter, please do share the conference flyer, a link to the website. And if you're curious to learn a little bit more, we will be holding 2 information sessions next Tuesday at 9 a.m. and another at 3:30. The Meet link is in this slide deck. And so we hope to see you there if you have more questions or would like to learn more about Vibrant Schools. Thanks so much to the Summit team for letting us have a little time today to talk about that.
Okay, real quick, another reminder is on the Summit days, there are these optional MLSS support sessions. And so people submitted questions and they've been working on a document to supply answers, but they'll also be in person or in a Google Meet to answer questions as well and give a little bit more information. And also any questions that have been put in the chat that we may not have an answer for, we're collecting these questions and we'll send out answers. When we compile answers, we'll make sure you get those. Okay, and I'll turn it over to Jamie.
Okay, thank you. And I'll just make this real quick. Had some questions already in the chat about attendance of these events. And so I just want to remind you that the expectation for our TLFs is that you attend the summits and the institutes as part of your expectation for your stipend that you receive. However, we do understand that substitutes are an issue. And we do understand that you may have, particularly on that March date, you may have some parent conference conflicts and so things like that. So this is why we offer a variety of options for attendance, both morning, afternoon, and sometimes on the weekends for our summits. It's a little harder with the institutes to do that, but what we do is that we record everything. So if for some reason you are not able to attend in time, in actual time for any of those events or sessions, then those recordings are archived. And we do expect that you will take the time later on to attend virtual sessions that were recorded if you could not come in real time for those pieces. So just kind of keep that in mind. We want to work with you. We don't want to put an additional burden on you. And if you can't get a sub, we understand. Your kids have to come first. That has to be your first priority. So we'll do that. Second of all, I just want to let you know that summer school information is starting to go up on the summer school websites off of the aps.edu website. The jobs for our summer school programs have posted. And so if you are interested in working those programs, we are adjusting our summer school dates to accommodate the ELTP extended learning time dates. Now that we've had our cyber snow days and our snow days, it has thrown a little bit of a wrench into our summer calendar. The question came up about what's going to happen with the Vibrant Schools Conference now that ELTP schools are still in session during the dates of Vibrant Schools. We had not considered that. So Jennifer Johnson, thank you for putting that there. We'll need to talk about that. We'll get back to you in terms of what we may or may not be able to do with those dates. Sub-cost accounts. Also, for those of you that haven't used subs, there is still a little bit of money left. If you're needing subs for things, let me know. I have all of the sub-cost accounts for your schools and can help your secretaries and clerks put those into Lawson so that they work. If we have any trouble with them, I'm also one of the people that tries to help troubleshoot that. Math adoption. We are still in the throes of trying to get funding secured to adopt our new math programs. That is why we have not announced any news about what was the outcome of our adoption vote, because until the Board of Education makes their decision and votes to release the funding, it's not official. I will let you know that we are going back to the board next Wednesday, not tomorrow, but next week, to take another run at this conversation with them. And so if you are wanting more information about math adoption, we encourage you to join that board meeting virtually, and you'll be able to hear all of the scoop about what's going on with math adoption. Finally, I do want you, if you are needing any support for professional development that you are being asked to deliver at your school, or if there are other kinds of professional development that are needed for you or for your colleagues, please be sure to put tickets in to request our people. We are still working with folks in the schools. We don't go in face-to-face for every single ticket that we have, but we do go in face to face if there is no other source, a way to provide a solution and meet up for you. So we'll make sure that we assign someone to you and get that going. And that ticket link is always on the APS CNI website, so you can get to it from there. One final thing that I didn't put on here was it is puberty season. For those of you who work in the elementary schools, you know what a joy and pleasure it is for fifth graders to learn all about mechanics of their own bodies. And it is just a real hoot. And we have materials that are posted on the intranet under curriculum and instruction that are available for your teachers to use. If you have fifth grade teachers that are needing help and support with that, please let me know. Again, put in a request or a ticket, and we will get one of our folks to help those teachers with anything that they might need. And with that, we are a little bit behind schedule already. I'm going to be quiet here and turn it over to Liz and Mark. And I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful day. Thank you for all you do, and thank you for being here.
So I think we're pretty much ready to go to our first session. There was supposed to be like a 5-minute transition, but I think if you can go as quickly as possible, if you do need to go take a restroom break, that's fine, but just make your way to your leadership section as soon as possible. And then presenters, there's a 10-minute break built in at the end of the first leadership section. So if you need to take like 5 minutes there and just a 5-minute break, those are a couple areas we can make up time. Someone will be in this room if you do have questions, but Liz put the schedule in there. And so thank you for joining us today. And we're going to send you on your way to go to your first leadership section today. Thank you.